Hey guys, welcome to this video. My name is John Watts. I'm a consumer protection lawyer, and a lot of what I do involves using the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, to help my clients. And so we are sending letters, or our clients are sending letters to the credit bureaus. And then when information is not corrected, then we're suing either the credit bureaus or the furnishers of information. That would be somebody like Bank of America who's reporting, or Midland Funding, a debt buyer, debt collector who's reporting on it. So when we're talking about those letters, what are some examples of proof that you would send? Now, if you remember our last video that came out yesterday, we talked about how to get your credit reports for free. So you've gotten your credit reports, you're looking at it, and you say, there is false information. I want to send a letter disputing this to the credit bureaus. So what do I put in there? Well, let's kind of take a step back and just remind ourselves, why do we need to send a letter directly to the credit reporting agencies? When I say credit reporting agencies, credit bureaus, it's all the same thing. Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, there's companies such as Innovis, SageStream, but these are the big three: Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Well, if we want to be able to sue the credit bureau under what's called Section 1681I, which is saying, hey, credit bureau, you did a lousy reinvestigation of my file, well, then we have to send a letter to them. And that makes sense. But here's the one that catches a lot of people, even a lot of lawyers, by surprise. Because there's a part of the law called Section 1681 S2B, and then the section before that, 1681 S2A. It's all sorts of fantastic requirements on these furnishers. But you can't sue under Section 1681 S2A. You have to do a dispute. Well, people say, well, I'll just do a dispute directly to the furnisher, directly to Portfolio Recovery or Wells Fargo or whoever it is. And that's fine to do that, but that does not trigger any liability. You have to go to the credit bureaus. And so the bottom line of all this is, with the exception of one type of claim, and we've talked about this in other videos, a Section 1681 EB claim, you really have to dispute with the credit bureaus to get liability against the credit bureau and also liability against the furnisher. So again, what goes in that letter? Well, here's what I want you to think about. The first bullet point is really the foundation of this. Just think about if you were talking to the credit bureau, and they're sitting around a table, and you got all three credit bureaus, and they're saying, okay, what do you say is wrong with your Bank of America account? Well, what would you tell them? How would you explain it to them? How would you show them that there is a problem? Well, you do the same thing in writing. You just type it out. Instead of talking to them, you type it out. And they say, well, where's your proof of this? Well, what would you slide across the table to them? That's what you do in the letter. And the same proof that should get the error fixed if the bureaus were doing a proper investigation, if the furnishers were doing a proper investigation, which, by the way, is a huge if, because normally they don't. But if they would do it and that would get the error fixed, then when they do not do a proper investigation, that same proof is just devastating against them. Because they come into court and they say, yeah, you know what? We got it wrong. No big deal. There's no liability. You can't sue us. And, the consumer didn't give us proper proof. And then you say, well, Judge, here's exactly what I gave them. And the judge looks at it and says, guys, seriously, why didn't you fix it? And they just kind of look all around and, that type of thing. So let me give you a couple examples. Let's say you paid off the debt. Well, can you send proof that you paid it off? So maybe it's a debt collector and you paid them and they still are reporting it with a balance owed. Now, you might just sue them directly under the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, but it's a good idea to dispute it through the credit bureaus. And can you say, well, look, here's a screenshot of my bank statement showing, here's a letter from Portfolio Recovery. It says, you have to pay $237 by this day. Well, here's my bank statement showing before that deadline, $237 going out to Portfolio Recovery. Pretty good proof, okay? What if there was a lawsuit filed against you, a collection lawsuit, and the case was dismissed with prejudice? Okay. Well, can you enclose the lawsuit? Say, hey guys, I got sued. And look, it got dismissed with prejudice. Or we tried the case and I won. Here's the verdict in my favor. Would that be good to include? Well, normally that would be great to include. What if you're an authorized user and the owner of the account has started, missing payments, or maybe they haven't maxed out and that's really hurting your credit score? And so you say to the owner of the account, hey, call your credit card company, remove me. And so they do. And then they get an email from Chase or Synchrony Bank or whoever saying, hey, we have removed Joe Blow from your account as an authorized user. And then the owner forwards that email to you. Well, could you include that and say, hey, look, you're on my credit report. First of all, I was only an authorized user. Second of all, I'm not even an authorized user now. Here's the proof. Here's the email. Go check with Synchrony Bank if you disagree. How about if something was included in bankruptcy and was discharged, but they're still showing that there's a balance greater than zero? Well, we might say, well, here's my bankruptcy petition. Here's the list of debts that were included. And by the way, here's the discharge order. And you see they're reporting a balance after that discharge order. Or what if you have, let's say, NationStar, Mr. Cooper, whatever they're calling themselves this week, and they have listed on your credit report that there's a foreclosure. But you went to court and you got that foreclosure undone. So sometimes it's called being rescinded or being set aside or voided, whatever it is. The foreclosure didn't happen because the judge says, that foreclosure is void, it's undone, it's like it never happened. Well, maybe we enclose that when we dispute to Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, say, hey, NationStar, Mr. Cooper, is reporting a foreclosure. That's untrue. Look, here's the proof. Here's where they had the foreclosure deed, but here's where the foreclosure deed was voided or set aside or rescinded. So take that off of my credit report. Or maybe you just have a letter from a creditor saying, hey, we've investigated your claim. You do not owe this money. You're not responsible for it, but yet they have it on your credit report. Or maybe you paid off a debt a year or two ago, but it's still showing that you're late right now, this month, January 2021. Well, can you enclose the proof showing that it was paid off? Now, look, sometimes the proof comes from the credit reports itself. Okay, so we'll say for example, let me give you just an illustration here. We have Equifax is the only bureau among the major three that will report the date of first delinquency. Okay, and that's your trigger for the 7 years. And then Experian and TransUnion won't report that. Even though they have that information, they refuse to give it to you. They will put, well, here's the estimated date we think this will come off. Well, sometimes we'll dispute and say, hey, Experian and TransUnion, you have to give me the date of first disclosure. That's a requirement. I'm demanding a copy of my file. Okay, and file has a special meaning. And we say, and besides that, look, Equifax says this is the date of first delinquency. TransUnion, you say it's going to come off in a certain month. That's different than Equifax. And by the way, it's different than TransUnion. Experian and TransUnion, you guys have the different dates of when it will come off. That's why I need my date of first delinquency. So I can figure out, are you guys getting the right information from the furnisher? Are you going to only report this a certain amount of time? So sometimes the proof comes from the credit report itself. Another example would be, they say in January of last year, you're 30 days late. February, you're 90 days late. We go, look, Equifax, look at your own credit report on me. 30 days late, and then 28 days later, now I'm 90 days? That's impossible. So the proof can be all sorts of things, but just think about if you're sitting across the table from the credit bureaus and you're saying, guys, I want you to fix this account. And they go, what's wrong with it? Well, you explain to them what's wrong with it and then give them that proof. So here's some final thoughts. If you've created this great dispute. However you get it to them, you have to prove that they got it. Because understand, these places will say, we never got it. Now, maybe they didn't. Or more likely, maybe they're just absolutely lying with no problem with their conscience lying, okay? So we can say this is unfair and this is unjust and these crooked credit bureaus, or we can say, you know what? I don't trust them, so I'm going to prove that they got it. So you send it by mail, which is my recommended way. Do it certified. So you get the green card back, or you can go on the USPS and see that they signed for it. What if you want to do it online? I'm not a fan of that, but you certainly can do that. I would have at least screenshots of every screen. But what I'd really recommend is that you just get a screen recorder. Like, I'll put the link in. This is free. It's Loom, Loom. I'm not sure what typically the free version of these things will have a limited amount of time. You could use Snagit. Again, I'll put the links in for some of these that it'll just take a video of your screen. Okay, so every keystroke. So when you go to attach a document and then the bureaus say, we never got that document, you never attached it. You're like, yeah, it's on the video, buddy. Right there. I've got a movie of what I did. Because amazingly, they will have all these computer problems and your information will be lost and there's no evidence of it. I can't tell you how many times people come to me and say, oh, I did these online disputes. I say, well, where's your proof? Well, I mean, I did it, so it has to be logged in. I'm like, amazingly, the bureaus will lie about this, okay? So protect yourself. Do a fax, at least get a confirmation, okay? You want something that you can prove what you sent and that they received it. So keep a full copy of exactly what you sent. Keep a physical copy of it. Just get you a little folder right on there. Dispute sent January 2nd, 2021 to Equifax. Put the letter and the attachments in there. And then have one for TransUnion and Experian. And then make sure you scan it in so you have it digitally. And I would have it on my computer, but also up in the cloud. Dropbox, Google Drive, Evernote, whatever you want. And then just a final thought on your letters. Make your letters clear, okay? Remember the illustration of you're sitting around a table with Mr. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and they're saying, what's the problem? Well, explain it clearly. What are you disputing? Okay? Why are you disputing that? What's the error? Or more likely, the multiple errors, okay? And then you might want to include why you need this fixed. Are you trying to qualify for a house? Were you turned down for a home mortgage because of some errors on your credit reports and you were given a certain amount of time to fix it? Are you looking for security clearance? Maybe you're coming up on renewing your security clearance and this is going to be a problem. Maybe you're changing jobs or job promotion is going to require a credit report. Maybe you're renting an apartment or a house and you know there's going to be a credit report pull. So you might put in there why you need it. Now look, it's totally fine to say, I need this fixed because I want and I demand and I'm entitled to 100% accurate, complete information on my credit report. That is totally fine to say. And if there's anything in addition to that, it's okay to add that. And I'm looking to buy a house or my job or my security clearance from being with the government or in the military. But the point is, make your letter clear, explain the error, and also put in that proof. And what we suggest for most people is put in as much proof as you possibly can so that when it doesn't get fixed, the judge is looking at the furnisher and the credit bureau going, what is wrong with you idiots? They gave you all the proof in the world. You had to intentionally have closed your eyes to this to not fix it. And when the judge says that, that's when you can potentially get punitive damages. So appreciate you watching this video, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.